The Debate Masters tools is a platform offered to the members of District 81 to showcase their public speaking skills, but now it is not as individuals, but as a team. I am sure that all the teams from the 10 divisions that are going to participate are preparing to deliver the best performance possible. But they are also waiting for you, for your well-informed judgment to help them emerge from this competition as victorious. This is why this team, the organizing team of this competition, has called on you to join tonight for this workshop. They want to make sure that you are well equipped, you understand everything about this competition, you have the tools in order to provide the best judgment possible. I would like to thank each of you for responding positively to their request to be judges. And thank you once again for the job that you are going to do for the benefit of our members. We count on your availability, your judgment that is going to be fair, let's say, follow Toastmasters core values. We count on that. And thank you also for responding to this request for meeting tonight so that we can share, we can understand, and make everything clear if there is any zone that is unclear for you. And tonight, the big team is going to be led by our chair for the judges team, dear DTM Deborah, who I call Debbie. Dear Debbie, thank you for being the leader of this meeting. You are going to introduce our presenters. So everyone, have a good meeting, a good afternoon, enjoy, ask questions. And so far, it is the start of our tour, the Debate Masters Tours in the Caribbean Toastmasters. DTM Debbie, you have the floor.
Thank you, PQD Fair, and good afternoon to our chair, distinguished Toastmaster Fabiola Cleofa, our debate tour chair, Program Quality Director Pierre Charles Mingo, distinguished Toastmasters, esteemed judges. It is my pleasure to introduce our facilitator this afternoon, distinguished Toastmaster Delon Fraser. Has been a Toastmaster for over 10 years. He is currently a member of the One Country, One World Advanced and Cacique Toastmasters Club. He has served and continues to serve in many leadership roles at the club, area, division, and district level. Distinguished Toastmaster Fraser has achieved for the second time the title of Distinguished Toastmaster and has pioneered Anthem Forensic, that is the master, the art of public speaking within Guyana, a program that was designed and executed by him where over 700 young people were trained and lives were impacted. Distinguished Toastmaster Fraser has also participated in many debating competitions and was judged best speaker for most. He has also judged many mooting competitions and was recently commended by the Speaker of the National Assemblies of Guyana as the most efficient and thorough chief judge he has ever came across. Distinguished Toastmaster Fraser has been awarded a doctorate in philosophy and acquired a Master's of Business Administration, a Bachelor's of Social Sciences degree in International Relations, a Bachelor's degree in Law, and an Advanced Diploma in Project Management. He is a Franklin Covey Facilitator, a Global Peace Ambassador, Scout, a Global Sharper, and has recently been accredited the status of a United Nations Peace Ambassador. Help me welcome our facilitator, distinguished Toastmaster Delon Fraser. Distinguished Toastmaster Fraser.
He is logging in. He has to, at this moment, the Zoom is asking to update, but he's coming back. Okay. Um, I think it's settling in. Elan, when you are ready, just give me just to let you know who is in the debate committee. I'm chairing this committee, and we do have DTM Deborah, who is heading the judges team, and we also have DTM Finish Prasad will be managing the rounds, the scheduling, and we have DTM Julie Young, who is the one that is doing all the promotion flyers and also is the club liaison. If you need any help or have any questions with regards to maybe scheduling or any other aspect, she is also available to help. We have also DTM Michelle Telemark also that will be in charge of the recognition and also the scorekeeping. And naturally, we have also on board our PQD here. One of the things that you have been noticing that this tour is being hosted by Advanced Toastmaster Club Leaders Beyond Borders. That is because even though it is a event that is hosted by or that is approved by the district, we are taking it on that level to organize it. And so that is one of the reasons why it is not to be considered as a competition that you are accustomed to, that you start from club level, area level, division level, and then division. This is, as our PTD already mentioned, something that we support in this matter and that you can participate to get accustomed and get acquainted with debating. And it can be fun and also another way for the clubs to learn something new that can be done at club level. DTM Dylan, whenever you're ready, just give me a thumbs up if you are all settled.
TTM Fabiola.
Yes.
I'm going to say goodbye. I am going to have a town hall meeting with Division B.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to get ready, so I am leaving you, but I am there in spirit with everyone.
Yes.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
time together.
Yes. I forgot to mention that. Thank you for dropping by. And yes, it's okay. This was also shared with all the division and the area that our timeline. If you have noticed, we did have on the, uh, can you still see my screen? Stop, no, no, stop sharing, just a moment. Okay. Yes, we did have our a session where we informed and debate training actually on August the 15th. The recording was shared also with all the areas and divisions. So if you have missed that, you can still have the recording to look at. We did have a guest trainer, which is from UK, Paul Carroll, who has gone through a session with us and gave us some um, uh, training. And we did have a fun, uh, yeah, sample debate at that moment also. We asked all the divisions to confirm on the 5th of September, if they are going to participate with the team of all the 11 divisions, we did get 10 of you that took on the challenge and are going to participate on this tour. So I hope between then and now you are preparing your teams to be able to participate. And as mentioned, you can always call on the support of us when needed. Today, someone was asking, can we still get some support? Yes, you can still get some support, but know that the time is shortened and there is also contests going on. And most of us are also in other committees, so beware of that. But don't hesitate if you have any question, if you have any question, please contact us and so we can guide you through it. Yes. And now by the 15th, we need to have the names of the team. As was mentioned and shared, we are asking all divisions to have about 6 to 8 participants. So you can choose your participants however you want to. If you want to have prelimination debates to choose your best ones, you can do that. And the reason for 6 to 8 participants, you will see the schedule in a moment, that we are having the tour starts on October 30th and it will run for 4 weekends. So by having those persons, 6 to 8, you are guaranteed to have for each debate the participants you need in order to continue on. For instance, if you have on the first weekend, the 30th, 4 speakers, and 2 of them cannot make it on the 6th of November, you still have other participants that you can put in order to participate for the session. So that is why we are asking for 6 to 8 participants to be ready on the team. So whenever you have backups, you have also people that are prepared to do that. Today, we are going to choose who you will be competing against so we can make up the schedule and you will know when your team has to participate. Both the 30th and the 6th of November, all teams will be debating once. So be ready for that. But after the 6th of the month, then we will start with the eliminations. Those that will continue on will be able to participate on the 6th, on the 13th of October, and also go on to the final. So the oops, sorry about that. This part the presenter will be going through, but as I said, it will start the 30th. November the 6th is the second day. Both 30th and 6th, we will have rounds of 3 debates simultaneously. So we will be having breakout rooms at one particular moment. There will be 3 debates taking place, each in one different breakout room. So you will have to choose which breakout room and which teams you are going to support and watch. So that is what I would like to share and save some time at this moment before we can go on. Is our facilitator ready? Is Dylan on?
He was in just now, but I'm not seeing him.
Again?
No, I think he got knocked out again.
Well, I do have I do have his presentation, but I don't know if I can do that. Ay, ay, ay.
For our judges at the end, we would like also to have a few minutes with you in the breakout room so that we have a count of all those who are going to be taking part as our judges. As you can see, we have our division directors and area directors and other district leaders and Toastmasters. Probably our debaters are here as well to hear how the judges will be scoring or scoring them. So we will need to know who our judges are. We do have some new interests who we were not able to add to our group as yet, our group chat, but we will do so at the end of our meeting. Thank you, Madam Chair.
What we can identify at this moment maybe are the ones we can go on to select the who you will be teaming up with. So I would like now to know who is representing which division to choose. So I'll be calling the division name, and please open your mic and let me know that you will be the one that will represent the division, so we can move on to select or draw when you are going to, against who you are going to compete. So for division A, I see Division Director Natalie. Will you be representing and drawing for Division A?
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have anyone from Division B?
Yes, DTM Fabiola, I just joined you.
Okay, so Division Director Corfrel will be the one. And then do we have for Division C? Do we have anyone from Division C? No. Division B?
I am here. DTM
Okay.
Juliet.
Okay, let me pull you up here so I have everybody in place. Then Division E? Who do we have from Division E that will be representing the division? So keep track for me, Deborah. C and E, we don't have anyone yet. Division F, who do we have to represent?
DTM Sandra Theodore has been spearheading it.
DTM Sandra. Division G is not participating. Division H. Who is here?
I am from Division H, but I'm the area director. And I don't know if I can represent my division at this moment.
Yes, if we don't have anyone else, I would like you to do that. It's just for the drawing.
Okay.
Okay. Division I think I saw Division Director Karshena. All right. Division I.
Good evening. Area Director 43 is the representative for Division I this evening.
Oh, yes. Sorry. I got the email. Got it. Okay. And then we have Division J. Who's representing Division J?
I think that would be Toastmaster Dante, I believe.
Dante. Okay. Are you ready? Dante Wilson. Okay, Division J. And then Division K. Who will be representing Division K? No one? Okay. Well, since our facilitator is here, before anything else happens, let's give him the floor. Just give me a thumbs up. You want to start me to start sharing your screen?
Yeah, so I'm logged in actually from my mobile because again, the system. So I can ask you to share for me and I'll
Okay.
just go through the slides.
All right, go.
I will also like to ask the Zoom master to see because I'm logging in with the system again. So if they can let me in, that would be really appreciative.
Okay.
Great. Just let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Brilliant. Good evening, everyone. And of course, welcome to the Judging with Finesse. As you know, we will be engaging in a lot of debating over the next few weeks. And as such, it is only fitting that our facilitators this afternoon saw it fit to ensure that our judges are well equipped to enable them to judge the debate according to how it is expected to, with the integrity, and I should add there, highest of integrity, so that the best winner wins. And not only that, often we hear the term, oh, the judge's decision is final. But I would like to encourage all those who have taken up the opportunity to judge or to become a judge for the debating competition, that when we say the judge's decision is final, we mean that they would have taken the time to listen to the presentation and adjudge the best team, the best debating team. And so there will be no quorums, that everybody will leave convincing that yes, the judge has done an excellent job in selecting or judging the right team. So with that being said, I welcome you. If we can move to the next slide, you will understand that before we can even begin to understand what we will be engaging in as judges, there are certain words that you will find resonating with you throughout the entire debate. So you'll hear certain words such as rubric, proposition, moot, opposition, rebuttal, refute, refutation, affirm, advocates, flow, resolution, summation, surmise, negates, and resolve. All these are jargons that will be used by debaters throughout the debate. So it's only fitting that you become accustomed to these words so that when you hear it, you will understand from which position it is being set from, and it also helps you to improve your vocabulary as a debater. When we look at what really are we engaging in, we must understand that in order for us to judge the debate in a manner that it ought to be judged, there are certain things that we must do and accept. Next slide. So we must understand that what we are judging is not just an ordinary Toastmaster speech contest, but rather a debate. And so the definition that I've got for debate is that it is a popular extracurricular activity that gives the participants opportunity to refine their critical thinking and public speaking skills. But what does this actually mean from a Toastmasters perspective? Debating is a combination of the prepared speeches and impromptu speaking combined with inspirational and persuasive speaking, all of which we are capable of doing. Because as you know, if you have completed your CC, then you would have completed all of these criteria. And if you have completed levels 1, 2, and possibly 3, depending on the path that you've selected, then you have got this aspect covered. So this makes it an ideal format where all aspects of Toastmasters craft can be utilized together. So what exactly am I saying? Debating pulls together all of these things that we have been doing as a Toastmaster. The only difference is that we will now be tasked with ensuring that our speeches are infused with persuasive and articulative language so that we can get the best out of our participants and that we can be in a place where we understand as a debater ourselves. Because as I would say, you can never judge a competition until and unless you've actually participated. So we are all debaters this evening. Next slide. So who is a judge? And mind you, I'm not talking about the judges like those judges that will send you to prison and like those judges that are very rough and stern with you. In fact, I'm not even speaking about the judges that we would normally call upon at our speaking contest. We're speaking about a judge who will be judging a debating competition. So to put it simple, is that a judge decides which team has developed, and then when I say team here, I'm saying debating team, has developed and presented their arguments more convincingly. So in some ways, the judge is the most important person in a debate because he or she has to listen to every word of every speech, point of information, and point from the floor with equal attention without fear or favor. So that means that you can't get to randomly just choose a side just like that. So you have to listen to every single presentation from every single point of view so that you can judge the debate fairly. And when the debate is over, you will be called upon to, of course, to send the debates on the recording in progress. Oops. And so I'll be speaking from my computer. So, right. So when the debate is over, you get the opportunity to give them the feedback that they are looking for. So in essence, you have to listen to them keenly so that you can offer words of encouragement so that they can be encouraged to improve their speaking skills as well as their debating skills. So please remember this, it's not a shoot down as to who win and who lose. In fact, a debate is all about growth. So there's never a winner, there's never a loser, but there is a team that will advance. So we all will learn from each other as we go along, okay? So there's no need to be saying, oh, you're a loser and oh, the losing team or the winning team, but rather our language will be different. The team that will be advancing to the next round is Division A or Division B, not those that would have lost and win. Fair enough? So let's remember that in our language. Then we will look at how you prepare these speeches, because at the end of the day, as we would have learned from our Toastmasters training, that when we are giving feedback in whatever form it may be, is that it must allow those persons to feel as if they have become winners, regardless of if they were not adjudged the winners. So you give them the opportunity, you give them the comfortable feedback, the encouraging feedback, so that they can feel good about participating in the next round and probably in more debates to come. Next slide. So what are some of the characteristics of a judge? And I know that you will notice this not so strange to you, because really and truly, it is the exact characteristics that we would have been using as judges throughout our Toastmasters competitions. So a judge must be fair. What does this actually mean to you as an individual? Now, being fair is knowing that the team that would be progressing is actually the team that is progressing based on what they would have presented before the audience. So you need to remove yourself from, if you are from Division G as a judge from Division G, you need to remove yourself from there and put yourself in the place of a person sitting there in a neutral capacity and judging debate so that you can adjudge the team that is worthy of moving forward. The team that you thought to yourself that they would have convinced you throughout the presentations, throughout the debate, that they are worthy of going forward without any affection. And as we will say colloquially here in Guyana, you're submitting the team without any feelings. So you're not carrying any feelings at all, but rather you are judging based on the fairness and based on what was presented to you. Further, you must be accurate. A judge must be able to be accurate when, especially in a competition, especially when that level of competitiveness is very high, to give an accurate account of the debate. So I would never want to hear a judge saying, and I heard that team, but was it this team? Oh no, maybe it probably was another debate. So often you would hear this, and it tells you that that judge really and truly was giving an accurate account of the debate, because he or she can't even find themselves as to which debate competition they're actually in. So you as a judge must be accurate in listening, in observing, in taking in every single aspect of the debate that is being presented before you. So remove your mind from past debates and put yourself in the position currently listening to what is being presented before you. You must also be trustworthy. We must know that as a judge, you carry a very high integrity. And so when you sit and you have been selected to judge this debate, it is expected that you are trustworthy enough to give an accurate and a fair account of the debate so far. Moreover, you must be knowledgeable. Often I've seen debate judges go into a debate not even having the closest clue as to what the moot is all about. So before you even begin to even judge a debate, ensure that you understand the moot, understand it from the perspective of both sides. So when you are judging the debate, it's not that you're giving your own preconceived notions of the moot, but rather you understand the moot from the position of reading and researching the moot for yourself. So when you listen to the debate, then you can have a smooth flow as you go along with the presenters. So research your moot. Research your moot. And last but surely not least, a judge is an excellent listener. And I know as Toastmasters, we are excellent listeners. So it therefore means that we must listen to every single word that the presenters are presenting before us, so that we will not in any way necessary misjudge the meaning or the context of their arguments. So listen to it, understand the flow, be a trustworthy person. You must be accurate and be fair in your deliberations. These are the characteristics of a judge. As we move forward to the next slide, we will now come to what I would consider the aim of judging a debate. So as you know, in a debate, there are two sides to a story. here in Guyana, we have a home show that's called Justice for All. And he said a story has more than one side. He says it has my side, it has your side, and it has the public's side. So in the debate, you are only having two sides to judge as a judge. That's one who will support the resolution being debated, and the other that will negate the resolution. So these are the two sides that you will be judging. So in essence, the aim of judging, and if we can sum it up in one sentence, is to see which team has made the more persuasive case. And debate may not always be about facts. While you may have all the facts necessary to put forward your arguments, it is not always about the facts. It is about how you use these facts, how you present it to the audience and to the judges in a way that they will be convinced about your position. So remember, there are two sides, one who will support the resolution and the other who will negate it. So look out for that, because sometimes some debaters tend to support, but they tend to agree to disagree, but you will still need to listen keenly for when they are bringing these things out. Because while they may want to support the resolution as a negating side, they may have a strong argument to say, well, yes, while we agree with the supporting team, you might be taken aback, wait for it. They might come with something that may seek to say that, but that is not the strong point here that we're arguing. So while this may be true, we are arguing that it is not the only factor, or it's not the only overwhelming factor to an issue in question. So listen out for that. So it might not always be a clear cut between which side is supporting and which side is negating. It may not always be that straight line, but rather you may have a side that may agree to disagree somewhat. So listen out for that, because it is very critical that you do so in expressing and knowing which team made the most or the more persuasive case. And as we look at the aim of judging and we move to the next slide, you will have a clearer understanding as to what your role is. So now that you have a clearer understanding as to what is the debate, what the judge is expected to do, who is a judge, what are the characteristics of the judge, and most important, the aim of judging, we now look at what really is the role of a judge. Is it to just sit there and then at the end of the debate announce who the winner is? No, there is more to judging a debate than anything else I've ever come across. In fact, you will realize that the judge, one of the roles of the judge is to act as a match official. So you already know that the match in this case that we're speaking about is a match between the supporter and those who are the negatives. So when you look at it, you look at two teams coming together with an argument, and so you are an official of that team. You will then say who will go, who will not go. You will then present what you may think is your findings after listening to both sides. So in an essence, you are there to set the equilibrium between the two sides and then present your findings at the end. And the findings that you will be presenting is really and truly is to determine who the winner is. So you get to sit there and determine who wins the debate, or who has a stronger case, or who was more persuasive in their articulation. Then after you finish doing so, or even before, you get to give or provide feedback. And it is always good to know when at the end of it that those persons who are debating, those advocates, want to know that where there are rooms for improvement. So at the end of every debate, even if I win a debate or lose a debate, and even as a judge, it is your responsibility, regardless of if it's been asked upon you, to give a feedback. And the feedback that you will give will be general feedback. So we will not be hearing, oh, well, I heard from Toastmaster Delon, who is from Division J, and he had really strong arguments.
But then Toastmaster Fabiola did a very poor job in putting forward her team's argument in the way that we as judges were looking forward. No, no, no. You are not single-handedly finding each presenter and give them that feedback. What you will do will be a general feedback, such as we found that during the debate that one team had a very strong position. They were able to surmise their arguments in such a way that is more convincingly than the other team. But while the other team made attempts in refuting their arguments, they also made strong points, such as, so what you're doing is that you're giving general feedback and not individual feedback. In that way, both sides will learn and both sides will grow. So we don't want to put them against each other at the onset of the judges, because I've seen how judges sometimes in their feedback can cause two rivals or two competitive teams that are competing in a competition to really and truly get a good bruise out. I've seen it. So we don't want that. We are professionals. And as professionals, we aim for the best standard. And the best standard is giving general feedback so that both sides can learn and grow until the results are given. Another role of the judge is that you must be able to be impartial and unbiased. Again, you do not go into a debate with a preconceived conception of what the arguments of the teams should be, but rather you must be able to sit there as a neutral person, not from the side of the division that you're representing or where you're from, or not from a position that, well, here you're a specialist in this area, but rather you are sitting there as an individual who ready to take in every single word that the presenters will be presenting in their presentation. So at this point in time, all you're doing is to get your little notepad out, and then you listen, you observe each speaker as they present their arguments before you. So do not go in with any preconceived conception. Do not go in with a team that you already thought that is the winner. You wait until the debate comes to an end, and then you are judged by scoring fairly, impartially, and unbiased so that the best team can be, or a judge, the winner. You must also be observant and detached. Often when you're judging a debate, you will be judging a debate amongst members of the audience. And every single one of them will have an opinion. In fact, rarely you'll find that all of them will have the same opinion. They all will have different opinions about the arguments, different opinions about the mood. So it is your position to detach yourself from listening to all what is happening around you. In fact, I will consider at this point in time, any other voices that you're hearing or any other words or presentation that you're hearing outside of that of the persons who are presenting before you, it is considered noise, N-O-I-S-E. So block out the noise and focus your attention to the presenter that is presenting before you. Remember, there are only two sides, not the people's side. So take out the people's side and listen to that for the persons who are either supporting or those persons who are against the mood. You must also become aware, and awareness comes twofold. Aware of the people you're sitting amongst, aware that you are a judge, aware that you are here to judge a debate impartially and unbiased, aware that you have researched the mood, and you must also be aware of the teams that are presenting. So please ensure that you are in a position as I would say it, you are in the know. So you're knowing where you have to go, who you're sitting, which room you're sitting in, who those persons are, and you are aware of the mood that you are judging, this evening. So please ensure that you get that right. No, and last but surely not least, you must be constructive in your deliberations. Constructive, that is, you need to show the presenters an appreciation of the hard work that they would have done, because it is not easy presenting an argument that would have come from 7, 8 different books and 20-something authors in just 3 minutes. So we must acknowledge that they were presenters and they took the time out to come and present their arguments. And as such, in delivering any level or any form of feedback, you must be constructive. And as you know in Toastmasters, we look at the sandwich approach, but again, it must be general and not specific or individualistic. Next slide. After you understand the role of being a judge, the next thing you must learn is the prerequisite to judging a debate. And I just have one prerequisite. And the umbrella is, you need to understand your rule. And in doing so, you need to make sure that you get in touch with the organizers to double check on the procedures and the rules. So in essence, you're not only researching the moot, but you're also researching the structure and the rules of the competition, because every single competition will be different. While we may have parliamentary debates, we may have youth parliament debates, then we may have town hall debates. And so there are different structure to each debating competition. So in essence, you must be able to differentiate what is the structure that you're accustomed to as against the structure that is being required in this particular debate. So you need to touch base with those organizers. You need to ensure that you understand the rules and the procedures of the debating competition. So that's the prerequisite for you. Next slide. And then we now come to before judging. So before you even decide to judge the debate, I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. You cannot be an effective judge if you haven't taken the time to research the topic, to research the moot in question in which you are here to judge. So you must also do your research, because in doing so, it allows you to have a smoother flow of the arguments from both sides. Moreover, while that flow may be had, you will also get the opportunity to see that at least the researcher would have taken the time to research the moot thoroughly, because you will know the shortcomings of the moot as well as the high points in the moots. And you can only know this from both sides if you yourself, as a judge, would have taken the opportunity to research the topic. So like I was telling my colleagues while we were organizing this presentation, is that we all have a role to play and we all have work to do. So it's not just about the presenters coming presenting their arguments. It's a matter of you researching the topic so that you can understand from their perspective as well when they're presenting their arguments. Then you need to understand the structure of the debate. We've mentioned this from the slide just before, the prerequisite. So every single debate will have a different structure. So learn the structure. In essence, in this particular debate, you will find the structure different from any other structure that you would have seen in the debate. And for those persons who would have probably looked at The Great Debaters, this is a very good movie that you can get a bit of pointers from when it comes to the structure of debate that we are speaking about and that you will be participating in the next few weeks. Then you need to understand the debate guidelines / rules. So read the debating rules in its entirety so that you will know when someone is speaking outside their remit so that you can deduct marks, or so that you can add marks, depending on the points and depending on how the arguments are presented. So get au fait with the rules, judges, get au fait with the rules. Then you must also give honest feedback and know your rubric. Yes, I know the question is coming. Delon, what is the rubric you're talking about? And so to put differently, because of course, because this is a debating competition, I had to use debating jargon so that you could grow accustomed to it. So the rubric is actually your score sheet. So as a judge, you will be given a rubric, and that rubric will outline exactly what you are judging and what you are looking for. In fact, every speaker, every presenter should acquaint themselves with the guidelines, the structure given on looking at the rubric in itself, so that they will know how to put forward their arguments and put forward it in such a way that will allow them to gain points. Very important. So know your rubric. I will share with you the rubric later in the presentation. Next slide. So what are you doing during the presentation of the arguments? You are not sitting back and sipping pina colada and listening to everybody say there and give their opinion. No, 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 no. The first rule during the arguments and during the presentation is that as a judge, you judge what was presented. Leave your opinions at the door. In fact, leave your opinions and the opinions of everyone around you, except those that have been presented to you at the door. And if there's someone quite noisy beside you, always talking to distract you, you ask them in the most polite, full way, please, I am trying to listen to the speaker. But since we're not meeting in a physical space, we'll allow our Zoom masters to take care and mute their microphones. So you have no worries about listening to the opinion of others, except those who might be around you in your living room or in your space from where you're judging. So please ensure you leave their opinions and yours at the door. Flow the debate. Again, another debating jargon. Flow. What do you mean by flow? Put simply, this is where the judge takes notes. And so in order for you to take the notes, you have to watch the debate. You have to listen to the debate. You have to observe the presenters. And this is what is known as flowing. So when a round is finished, use the supplied rubric to score the participants by referring to your notes. And so the notes is what we call flow, okay? So by observing, you're making notes. So you find sometimes when a speaker finishes speaking, or even during a speaker's presentation, you will realize that a judge is looking down away from you and making copious notes. So the notes that they're making is actually allowing them to flow the debate. So the flowing looks at from where you began as a speaker, to the development of your arguments, to how you were able to convince them, and then they will listen to the other side, and the same thing they will do for the other side. Listen to their arguments, observe the structure as to how they're speaking, listen to the team's holistic position, and so you will get a clearer understanding as you move or transition from one speaker to the next speaker. To do this, you may also need what will be considered a flow sheet. Now, you will be given pieces of paper, so use that as your flow sheet. However, be sure not to fill in for speakers. That is, you do not, if this is what the speaker meant to say but said something different, then you're judging the thing that they would have said different, okay? You do not judge what you think the speaker meant to say. So remove yourself from that. If it's a simple word that they were trying to pronounce and they pronounce a different word, well, obviously pronouncing a different word will give a different context to the arguments. That is not your fault. What you are going to be judging is what they would have said, okay? So if the arguments were displaced because they would have used an incorrect word, which we know, and we may call it a filler, and we know we always adjust, put fines to pause fillers. So So once a word is incorrectly used and it gives a different meaning to the arguments altogether, you judge what is being presented. So you don't fill in. So don't say, oh, this is what the speaker meant. No, this is not what the speaker meant, because if this is what the speaker meant, then the speaker would have presented that. Okay, judges? So don't use that as an excuse that this is what the speaker meant, okay? You can only assess them on exactly what they say, not what you think they meant to say. So remember, during the presentation, you judge and leave your opinions at the door. You ensure that you flow the debate. You ensure that you have your flow sheet that will take note of every single thing that they would have said, including those things that would have been incorrectly stated, but you are still judging it because that is your position, to judge what exactly is being presented before you and not what you think the speaker meant to say. Next slide. So after the presentation of the arguments, which is my favorite part, the competitiveness will keep the mood exciting. So you know for a fact that once it's a really nice debate, you will be hearing heated arguments coming from both sides. Arguments that will give you goosebumps if you are a debating enthusiast as I am. So you will know when the debate is going and the crowd is going and everybody is so attentively listening, and then those emoticons will come on with the clap hand and the smiley faces. So you know when you're in a really nice debate. But your feedback will also help the participant to develop their skills. So judges are asked to provide frank but constructive feedback without revealing their preference for a winner. So if an individual judge feels they have decided at this stage who the winner is, it's okay, but keep it to yourself. No one wants to hear it just yet. So you wait until each team would have presented their arguments. Then your team, which is the judging panel, will then meet. You will then engage in a little debate yourself, because that is what I like about the judging. Everybody has a different position as to who the best speaker is and what they thought about what the speaker said. So all these things, you are in a debate in itself as a judge. So you will sit and you will consult and you will compromise, because at the end of the day, and I'm saying why I'm saying compromise, is that we all can't always have it our way. This is not Burger King. So as a judge, each person will have their own opinion. So you will have to respect the opinion of your judge when you meet to discuss the scores and when you meet to provide those scores with each other, okay? So you compromise, ensure that you allow the other judge to give their take, to give their opinion, and to be respected at the end of it. So each team in turn, before you retire to make a collective decision about which teams won, judges are asked to consider A, how have the advocates performed as individuals and as a team? Usually, a debate is just a single presentation, but it is being presented by different presenters. So it's one presentation, so you will get the opportunity to see both persons or both speakers presenting. So you're looking at how they presented their arguments individually, and then how both arguments were able to be in synergy with each other, to have that smooth flow from speaker one to speaker two, to have the opportunity and to have the tenets of convincing the audience and convincing the judges. So ask yourself these questions. How have the advocates performed as individuals and as a team? Yeah. Secondly, what were the strengths and weaknesses? And in this case, I will ask you to replace the word weaknesses with also opportunities. So what were the strengths and the opportunities for growth of their arguments? You will find that when debaters are debating and they're having that heated discourse and they're on the flow, you realize that some of them will go off. So you are asked to judge And if they go off, you need to also judge that. And in doing so, you will offer them the feedback that will help them to stay on tandem, stay on the path. I understand that you're very passionate about debating, but stay on the path. Continue to support each other's arguments. And in doing so, you will use the evidence, intellectual sophistication, persuasiveness, and passion. Those are the tenets and the characteristics of an excellent debater. So they will bring the evidence, they will bring all the stats, they will use the authority, and they will bring their intellectual sophistication. That is their art of persuasiveness and gestures as they present to you their arguments. And then you'll see how enthusiastic they are and passionate when you see certain points coming out in the debaters. So judge that. But I will caution you, esteemed and sagacious judges, do not get carried away by the intellectual sophistication. As a matter of fact, there are some teams that will sound really, really exquisite in their articulation. But are the points sound? Were they able to support each other individually and as a team? And if not, then you will score accordingly. So it's not how they are flaring and the gestures and their discretion in using intellectual sophisticated language, their diction. No, the debate is not all about that. It's all about how the arguments were put forward from both sides, how the members of each team were able to support not only themselves, but each other, so that the arguments can be sound and persuasive. Next slide. C, have the team got stuck on the semantics of the motion, or have they approached the debate in the context of wider real-world discussion? This is another question you ought to ask yourself. The arguments must be sound, and in the soundness of the argument, we must be able to see that while they have the semantics and the motion and all of that, we must see whether or not if they would have taken it into consideration that the mood requires critical thinking and critical analysis. And so in doing so, you will see them bringing out their arguments, not from a narrow perspective, but bringing it from wide and moving and transferring it and transitioning that wider context into a much simpler context in which they can argue it. So you're looking for pointers that they can actually use in real life situation. Let them bring sense to the argument, logics. These are the things that you will be looking for as a judge, so that when you sit there and you judge the debate, you will say, yes, these are real world discussions. We can help the world in a better place through our arguments here this evening. D, what advice would you give to the teams to improve in the future? So these are things that you will look for. After you have listened to the arguments, what advice can I actually give them so that they can improve? You know, so you need to listen and listen attentively as you go through that. E, mothers look to you for feedback as a way to learn and, of course, coach participants. So as a judge, note, as a judge, you should model decorum, courtesy, and clarity when writing your feedback. Very important. And like we've mentioned before, we would normally use a sandwich approach. But in this case, what the debaters will be looking for is not just the general feedback that they would normally be getting from a prepared speech competition, but rather how they can improve in their style as a debater. That is, making their arguments more sound, making their arguments more persuasive. So we can sit here, we can listen to their presentation, and we know exactly what is needed to help them improve in their advocacy. So remember, your language, the language of your feedback should also be inclusive. That is, bringing everything together. Both teams, both sides, the individuals of both teams, as well as if you can also give the feedback to helping them improve beyond the topic that they would have been presented on this evening at whichever debate, then you're able to be an excellent judge. And in so doing, you would have created the environment where they can actually learn and grow. Next slide. So you've learned what is expected of you as a judge. But what is a yellow tape? I call it the yellow tape. You see, I'm a law enforcement officer. And so we would normally draw a yellow tape where we don't want any person, going on the crime scene or to take away any evidence. So in this case, there is a yellow tape, or rather a few yellow tapes in judging. It is also worth noting that while a team might demonstrate considerable knowledge and familiarity with the topic, note my words, whilst a team may demonstrate considerable knowledge and familiarity with the topic, evading difficult issues and failing to address the main substance of the debate misses the point of the moot. So a yellow tape is that you must be cognizant of this. So while they might have flowery language and they appear to be an excellent debater in their articulation, you must also listen to the essence of their arguments to see whether or not if it is sound. In fact, to see if they're actually debating the moot in this debate. Because often we listen to debates and you're wondering if they are debating at another debate because they would have clearly missed the bus. They would have clearly misinterpreted the moot. They would have clearly not understand what is being presented here this evening. So as a judge, we have a keen eye and keen listening skills for these things. So look out for it. Do not judge the debate based on semantics and based on articulation only. Listen to see if the articulation brings out the arguments in a way that is convincing to you as a judge. And so judges are therefore encouraged to consider how far advocates have gone in defending their side of the motion. To what extent have they taken up the more challenging parts of the debate, and how far the teams were able to respond to and challenge their opponents. So you have to listen to that, and that comes in with the rebuttal. And so when you're listening to the rebuttal, you listen to what arguments were put forward by both sides and how each team was able to destroy the arguments of the other side using and putting forward their standpoint. So in essence, what you're doing is to see which person took their arguments to a whole new different level so as to combat the arguments of the other side. So listen keenly to what they're saying because you just might hear it in the rebuttal. And just in case if a point was mentioned and the teams were unable to identify that point or recognize that point, then it will give you, a judge, a wonderful remark to make in the feedback, because it will tell you that you were listening and it will tell you that there are room for improvement from the other side. So, hey, let's tell them because they just might miss it. Next slide. So let's look at the structure. Earlier this evening in the presentation, I told you that we have to look at what is being presented and how it is being presented before us by both teams. So in this case, the structure of the debating that you will be participating or the participants will be participating in will be a team comprised of two speakers, two presenters. One will be the captain. And so you'll have a captain for the opposition, for the proposition, or for or against, or support and negative. So you will have these persons. So the captain is the first speakers. Captain for and captain against. Then you will have a second speaker who will be considered the supporting speaker, or if you want to call him the first speaker, no problem. You can also do so. So you will have the supporting speaker. So each captain will speak for a total of 2 minutes, if I'm correct, right, Toastmaster Fabiola?
5 minutes.
So each captains will speak for 5 minutes. And so for 5 minutes, they will put forward their arguments and to lay their foundation, followed by their supporting team. So how it will work is that you'll hear from the team 4, the captain 4, and then the second speaker or the speaker to follow will be the captain of the against side. Each will speak for 5 minutes. Then we will have the second speaker or the first speaker, depending on how you want to structure it, or in this case, the supporting speaker of for the captains. You will have the second speaker 4, and then you have the second speaker against, and they will speak for 3 minutes. Am I correct on this one?
Yes.
Brilliant. So at least get one in. So the second speakers, I'm hoping that we have a lot of the debaters here at this training so that they can understand that their captain will speak for 5 minutes each, and then their supporting speakers will speak for 3 minutes each. They will have an audience interaction, and this will be for 5 minutes. And then, of course, the structure will be determined by, of course, the organizers as to whether or not the interaction will come either during the presentation before the rebuttal or after the presentations of the rebuttal. Then we will have the team captains for and against who will come for the second time to summarize their team arguments in the form of what we consider a rebuttal. And the rebuttal will go for how many minutes? 5? Am I correct on this one? Or 2?
2.
Okay, so the structure in this case, it's 5, 3, 2. 5 for the captains, 3 for the supporting speakers, and 2 for the captains again when they come to make their final arguments in that of the position of rebutting. So, but what are you expected to see during, next slide, please. What are you expected to see? So what is exactly the captain supposed to be doing? And you might be asking yourself this question because it is something that is part of the rubric. So for the captain of the affirmative, you get to introduce the debate as a whole. Members of the audience, sagacious judges, colleagues of the opposition, I rise as the captain of the affirmative team to tell you or to present to you that bam, bam, bam. That's the mood. That's the mood. Okay. You will then provide a definition of the key terms within the mood. Very important. So these are the things that you're looking for, judges. 1, how they introduce themselves and their team. And then they will look at the definitions. What are the key terms and phrases used in the mood? After having a clear understanding of the mood, the members of the affirmative have identified, or from the mood, these key terms were delineated, and these words are, and you list the words and you give the definition. If the presenters did this, judges, then you will have a very easy task, okay? They must also introduce their team line. So the team line is, which is the overarching argument that the team will be pursuing. So if you are forming, then of course your position is to support the mood, which states. If you are the negative, then of course your position is to disagree with the mood and give your position of it. So they must break down what each speaker will be saying in a team split. So as the captain, I will be laying the foundation of my team's argument and will be focusing my arguments on, while my second speaker will produce to you statistics which will support our position on the mood. Then last but not least, you get to introduce your main argument. And so your main argument is the foundation. So whichever team you're on, that is your foundation. So you'll be looking at what is the foundation of the teams as judges. If there's no clear foundation, then hey, you will not know where the speakers will be going. And as such, you are then left with a clearly open mind and waiting what they will be saying to see if they will have a smooth flow. So you're looking for structure within the presentation as well. So even as in debates, we as debaters and as Toastmasters will always utilize the structure of a presentation. So you must have a clear opening, smooth development, and memorable ending. So these are the tenets of the presentation. It doesn't change. So these are the things that you will be looking for. How well the captain was able to cement his team's arguments, how well he was able to introduce his position from the get-go, how well he was able to identify the definitions within the moot, how well he was able to give his own and his team's interpretation of the moot. Because while you may have the definitions, which is good, you know, the team captains now have to bring those definitions together so that they can see their arguments flowing. So when you give the definitions, team captains, you have to ensure that you give your interpretation. So after these words were gleaned from the moot, we, the members of the affirmative, interpret the moot to mean. And so you give your team's interpretation. And it is your team's position that sets the foundation to your argument. So I give you an easy way of doing so. I'm giving you pointers, note. And so what do you look for as a judge when it comes to the captaining of the negative? The first negative does not or do not need to provide a definition. Now, why I'm saying this is because if the captain of the affirmative would have used the exact definitions that you may have, it is better not to waste your time in stating and restating the definitions that he would have stated before. What you can say skillfully is having the captain of the affirmative give the definition that is clearly in line with what my team's argument is. We will then move forward in providing you with our team's interpretation of the moot. So if the affirmative give their definition, you can use their definition by not restating it, but just say that you agree you're going to be using it. But if it's clearly different from the definitions that you may have, because I am well aware that the definitions that you will be using will be definitions that will help you or strengthen your team's position. So you might find that a definition from a normal Oxford dictionary as against a psychological encyclopedia, they might give a different meaning of a single word. Because as you know, a word takes on a different meaning based on the context it is used in a sentence. So please remember that. Please remember that. So if you're going to be using different definitions, then hey, restate it. So you only do so unless the affirmative fail to do so, or if you disagree with the fundamental aspect of their definition. In this case, you're disagreeing with their definitions, and you're going to use your own definition, which will allow you to get a better strength of your arguments. So the most reasonable definition will win, of course, because hey, we're looking for these things as judges. However, they will need to rebut the substantive points made by the first speaker. So in this case here, you may want to say from the get-go that as the captain of the opposition, we disagree with the moot that states. So from the get-go, you're disagreeing with the moot, and in so doing, you're also disagreeing with the arguments of the affirmative captain. So right there and then you're hitting the hammer soon as you can as a captain for the negative. Bring out your points. Bring out your points at the beginning. Bring it out at the get-go. Don't waste time. So other than this, their role is the same as the first affirmative. So note that while they are the same, they may be different based on one, if the definitions are different. And so if you think that your definitions may have a stronger case or better than that of the affirmative, then hey, don't shy away from using it. use it because it will be your strength when you lay the foundation in define the key terms used in the mood, and not only doing so, but giving an interpretation of the meaning to strengthen your arguments and to lay the foundation as the team's captain. May the best captain win. Next slide. So what do you expect from the second speakers? So I'll tell you this. So the speakers begin with rebutting any important points that the other team has made. So whilst this should not take up more than 25 to 30% of your time, you must rebut. However, that advocate needs to introduce the main arguments for the team. So while your team captain would have cemented and tell you exactly what is expected as for the team's strengths of arguments, you as a second speaker comes in and supporting it with that strength of an argument. But what do I mean by that? Put simply, you are coming to strengthen the main argument in the foundation from your very first speaker, which is your captain. So you look out for that. Flow. Remember, it is one speech, but it's only being presented by two speakers. So you must understand that if you're coming with a different argument, it could be a sub-point of the main argument that was presented by your team's captain. And these are the things that we're looking for. So we look and see what they will bring. And often the second speaker will be delivering the substantive materials. So you find that they will bring facts, they will bring stats, examples, or other evidence to back up what they are saying. So often you will find that the second speaker is the one who will bring in the authorities and bring in the statistics and the reports from UN and World Health Organization, all the relevant authority that is required for their arguments. Next slide. Then we come again to the captain. And so the captain is a closing speaker. So firstly, they rebut. Secondly, they sum up. So rebutting should take up most of the third speaker, in this case, the captain's time. They must rebut the whole of the other team's arguments. So ideally, by grouping together similar arguments and picking them apart all at once. I could remember debating at one point in time, one of my colleagues stood up to say, esteemed judges, I wish to deal with the team holistically, but I will dissect and trisect their arguments one by one, beginning with the captain. And I thought to myself, wow, they're coming with the arguments. It tells me from the get-go that this person coming in the ring to win this rebuttal. So a man coming to you with, I wish to deal with their team's argument holistically, but will dissect it. It tells me that they would have considered the entire team's argument, and then they will now attack each speaker's strong points. But it's not only about attacking the strong points, but rather attacking the points by using your arguments. So don't forget, you are not just going to loosely attack their arguments based on just your whims and fancies, but you're attacking their arguments based on what you and your team has presented. So show the judges, show the audience that, or rather, what the judges are looking for is how you're able to use your arguments to destroy, defeat, or even throw the other side's argument aside. So I hope we're on our way to understanding that. So in summarizing the team's arguments, reminding the audience of what you have been arguing and why you are right. So oftentimes when you finish, what we're looking for as well is that when you're finished, when the team finish or each speaker finish making a key point, we often look forward to a cliche. And the cliche that are in the debate is restating the mood. This is why we strongly affirm our position that, and you state the mood, or this is why we, the opposition, clearly do not agree with the moot. So every strong point that you would have stated, every strong point that you would have used against the other side, you restate the moot. So when you restate the moot, it's like you're transitioning now to the second argument. So you state all, so we're looking for structure by seeing how well you were able to state all of the strong points of this first speaker and destroy those. And then we look as you transition to the second speaker and destroy those. One of the no-nos in the debate, however, is that you cannot rebut the rebuttal, because the rebuttal is a summary of your arguments, of both teams' arguments. So there's no need to rebut the rebuttal, but rebut the key points by using your arguments. However, in the rebuttal as well, we're looking for this, and this is very key because I think it's 5 points deduction if you would have introduced any new arguments. Do not state anything new in the rebuttal, team captains. It's a no-no, unless you are using it to directly rebut an opposing argument. And that opposing argument may be something that the team, let's say, if the proposition would have stated something that you did not state in your presentation, you can still use that as a rebuttal point in your negative argument. So remember that, yeah? But do not introduce new arguments. You only restate the arguments that your team would have presented before this august body we call the judges and the audience. Next slide. Then we come to the rebuttal. So the rebuttal is essential to debating. And everyone except the first affirmative will need to rebut. Well, in this case, everybody gets to rebut. So the rebuttal is where you explain the flaws in the other team's arguments. The most effective rebuttals will, and I'm hoping that our judges are taking key note of this, because an effective rebuttal look at attacking the core of the opposition's argument or the proposition's argument as being illogical or irrelevant to the topic. And it will always better to attack the argument itself rather than the example or the evidence they use to back it up. So often when you're listening to a rebuttal, you hear these very mediocre arguments. Well, the presenter presented to us some stats. How recent was these stats updated? Where did they get the stats from? While it might be essential for an argument, it might not be able to trump the key arguments of the team presented. So use the team's arguments against them, rather than just looking at the unnecessary, mediocre sorts of arguments, whether or not if they dress good, or you believe that they overuse gestures, or the language was poor. We don't need to hear that. What we need to hear, and what you will be judged on, is the arguments, being able to refute the arguments of the other side by using your arguments. So look forward to that. So don't use the mediocre approach. Give us the strong arguments. Use those arguments to your advantage. And so in doing so, we will be able to see that you were critical in your thinking and critical in your approach to the debate, so much that you were able to identify their strong points and that you were able to show us that your points were taken into consideration, that your points clearly set the other team's arguments aside. However, you don't always have to argue that the other team is completely wrong. And this is another skill that we look for as judges, because there is an aspect of the debate where you actually get to agree to disagree. You can also argue that their argument is correct. It is correct for want of something, but it is correct. But it should be awarded little weight. So while you think that the government forcing you to take the vaccine is against your human rights, you may also want to say that while this may appear so, it doesn't add much weight when you take into consideration the devastating impact that the COVID have on the population as a whole. So you see, you agree that it may appear so, but you agree, but you disagree because it adds little weight to the whole argument when you think about it all together. So that the positive outcome outweighs the negative, that your team's argument are more likely. Always remember that we are looking at attacking the points and not the advocates personally. So when you may think that she sounds like a cloaking frog, or when you think that she buried her head in the soil like an ostrich, or she has so much doubt that she was unable to follow the team's arguments in its entirety, no. As a judge, we're not looking at you personally attacking the speaker. We are looking at you attacking the points, and because that is where you will get your points from. So attack the points, use your points, and give us an excellent rebuttal. Next slide. The other aspect of this presentation, and most important, is to allow you to understand the rubric. And as such, what you'll find when you see the form, you will find that the score sheets will have various fields. And every one of these fields will have the points awarded to it. So the first field for 30 points, you see how critical defining the mood is. And in the definition of the mood is also where you bring in the interpretation. So this is what we're looking for. So 30 points goes to the team who was able to clearly define the motion. So the questions that we judges will ask ourselves is, did the team seem to be knowledgeable or have a clear understanding of the motion? How clear was the strategy for the argument set out as to how the team would propose the motion? So you ask yourself these questions, these inquiring questions as a judge. Was the motion clearly defined? Were they able to identify the key words and phrases used in the mood? Were they able now to interpret the words used in the mood in such a way that will set the foundation for their arguments? Look for those things because it's very critical that you do so. Number two. Next slide. Content. Another 30 points for content. Was the content of the argument arranged in a way that the argument was communicated logically? So you ask yourself these questions as they are presenting to you. You ask whether or not if the content was relevant, if the content was able to communicate logically the team's arguments. And if it was, then you award a point to demonstrating knowledge of the subject and amount to the technical information given. So if a team would have done justice to the content, then of course you award them those points. The third field is the debating skills, which is 20 points. So you need to look at considering the delivery, the clarity, the intonation of the speaker. Did they include humor in the context? Also consider how the speaker dealt with the points of information. Were they taken? Was the reply adequate? Consider how the arguments was developed and how the points raised by the other side were picked up and debated. So in this case here is that you're looking at the debating skills, how well they were able to identify the key points, how well they were able to argue using their points against that of their other side. So you look at the content, you listen to what was presented, ensure that the content gives you clarity, ensure that they were able to have a smooth flow as a transition from one point or one subpoint to the other subpoint, and then next to their second speaker, and allow it to resonate with you, how well they're able to use their gestures, their debating jargons, how well they were able to be rhetorical in including the judges and including the audience. These are things that you look for when you're debating because it allows you to interact with the audience, to get their buy-in. So if you're going to stand in front, if a speaker is going to stand in front of the lectern or the speaking area and not include the audience, then I don't know who they're here to debate and convince, but I guess you, the most important people, the judges. So look forward to it. Give them your honest attention and give them your honest feedback. Fourthly, teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. And I would have mentioned before that it is one presentation being presented by two speakers. So you need to see how well the team work together. Consider the speaker's ability to work as a member of a team and tie in his or her team's arguments. The speaker should be demonstrating that they have a coordinated strategy, and points should be deducted if the speaker on the same team contradict one another. This is very important. Often I see debaters stating a strong point for the other side, and I'm telling myself, I hope the other side did not pick this up, because if the other side mention it, then automatically you need to deduct points from that team, especially if they bring it up in the rebuttal that, hey, the negative side clearly agrees with us when they stated this particular point. In fact, we're happy, esteemed judges. We're happy that they took our points into consideration. And this is why we maintain our arguments and propose the moot that states, bam, bam, bam. Wonderful ways of bringing it out. Excellent ways. And so the team point, the points that goes towards team effort is 10 points. So look out for that. And then we look at timekeeping. Usually, the full 10 points will be awarded. If a speaker does not use all the time allocated, then the judges may consider deducting points as at their discretion. So it's not in the case that judges are so straight to the wall. They have discretionary powers. And the discretionary powers is that they're able to give points awarded. So we can give you the points if you were able to use the full the full minutes the full time that you were allotted. But while we have discretionary powers, we are also just in our dealings. That is, if you speak over the maximum of 10 seconds, which will be used to tie up your arguments, then hey, the rule of thumb is that we should deduct 1 point after every second that the speaker exceeds the 10 seconds conclusion period. And I'll tell you a secret. I find that this is very good because in most debates, what the judges do is that they clearly just shut out from listening to you after the 10 seconds. They don't even deduct marks. They just bow their heads and then they go straight to their worksheet. So if you want to run, or if the speaker is running on a tandem, deduct the marks. Let them know that for every second we're deducting. And guess what? If they go over 10 seconds, it therefore means that they get 0 points to timekeeping. So good luck. Speakers are encouraged to know the rules and they are encouraged to speak within the time that they are given. The discretion will also come if a team was able to start an argument, but was able to complete it in a few seconds. No points will be deducted for that. Just make sure that the team arguments are concluded within that 10 seconds. Anytime beyond that, you start deducting. Next slide. Conclusion. Debating is a skill. Arguing politely is an art. As Toastmasters, we are always artistic when we are delivering a presentation. So the debate doesn't have to be one where you're shouting at each other and that you develop this type of animosity against the speaker. No, do it with finesse. You stand there, you state your point, and you state it in the most confident and convincing way that you could. Beyond that, if you shout at the speaker, then it appears as if you're shouting at me because I'm part of the audience. And so I need to know that you're not shouting at me. The sad thing about the judges is that all we need to do is to remain silent until we are called to speak. Other than that, I was like, why are you shouting at me? Do not raise your voice. Do not shout at me. I wish I had that opportunity, but we don't. We remain silent and then we will give our feedback when we are called upon as judges. Judges, participants, those persons who are here. In my concluding remarks, you have been given an opportunity to showcase your skill. You have given the opportunity to showcase your art of public speaking, more so in the aspect of debating. Not often you get the opportunity like this because one, we are unable to really and truly argue the way that we want to argue because there are rules and that there are guidelines to our engagement when we want to convince people. But hey, you can always do it in such a way where you get to showcase not only your point of view, but you also get to showcase your cognitive thinking skills, looking at the arguments from both sides. You get to show your cognitive analysis of the moot, stating what was said and how you're able to analyze it so that you can put forward the best argument for your team. In every single competition, there will be 3 judges. Every competition, there will be 3 judges. So you'll have a chief judge and you'll have 2 supporting judges. Every competition. I would also like to take this opportunity to share one more slide with you, which is the rubric in and of itself. Let me see if I can pull that up. I will entertain any questions that you may have at this point in time as I pull up the rubric, because I want you to see it. So at least when you receive it, it will not be a new document to you. I'm not seeing it coming up. Toastmaster Fabi, I so miss my MacBook. I can't stop complaining. It's coming up now. Are you muted?
Yes, sorry about that. We are over time.
Oh my.
But it has been worth it, isn't it, audience? Didn't you get? Oh my. But we want to entertain some questions. But what I would like to do is do the drawing for the first evening also. And if there is more time, we will do the one of the second one. And we will do the drawing and then answer some questions. So go ahead with.
I think this is the one that we decided that we're going to use.
I think it will have to be adapted.
Right.
Oh yes.
Yeah, this is the one, right?
Yes, correct.
Right. So this is what it will look like. The rubric will look like. So you have the name of the team, proposition. Then we have the captain. Then we have the second speaker. And then we have opposition, captain, second speaker. And at the bottom, you put the totals. And then we have the best debater. And then the form is signed off by the judge. So each field, the definition 30, content 30, debating skills 20, teamwork 10, time 10, and then we have at the side deduction of points. And so we created this column just in case if persons may have gone over time or whatever the case may be. So you can deduct that from out of 100. And then for the rebuttal, we have the interpretation, which ties in nicely with the definition 5. And then we have the rebuttal, which goes for 20 points of in and of itself. And then the subtotal for the rebuttal is 25. Then you might put in any deduction of points here because if they introduce any new arguments, then this might be the place where you may need to put your points deducted for a grand total of 125. At the bottom, you can also see the various fields and the weight allowed to it. So you can see it. The weight, whether it's poor, if it's fair, if it's good, it's very good, it's excellent. Then we have the definition, the content. Each of them carries the field, so you know exactly when you are awarding the point, you are either awarding it based on a weight system, which is very good, fair, or poor. That is for me, and I thank you for your attention.
Okay.
Okay, so I would like to ask if everyone is okay that we go up to the hour, so about 13 more minutes. But I would like now to go over the drawing, and then there is time for the questions. Okay, let me pull it up. Just a moment. Gosh. Here it is. Okie dokie. Okay, division A, the way you are going to draw at this moment for choosing which room you will be going into. And so if you can see, there are two numbers, room 1, room 2, etc., etc. So I will go and notes down which room you choose, and the counterparty will be then the division that you will be debating against. So Natalie, division director Natalie for division A, correct?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, I'm going to spin now for division A. And division A will be in room 4.
4. Okay.
Okay, that will be eliminated. So, DTM Carvel, are you still on? If not, I will go ahead and spin. This second spin will be for division B. Okay, division B will be in room 5. Division C, we didn't have anyone on board. So this spin is going to be for division C. Division C will be in room 1. And I will explain in a moment how this works. So next we have division D, Judith Druyard. Judith, this is for division D. So division D will be in room 3. And the next spin will be for division E. And that is in room 1. So this is the first complete match, meaning that division C and E are going against each other. The next spin is for Sandra, DTM Sandra, division F. You are in room 3. That means that you are going against division D. And the next spin is for division H. Sheila, that is room 2. First room 2. Next we have division I. Division I will be in room 4, and that is against division A. And then we have next division J, room 2. And then naturally the last one is for division K, which is room 5 that goes against room, wow, division B. Wow.
Toastmaster Fabi, I
Yes.
did not get to hear who Division J will be going up against.
That is room 2 that they will go against division H.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
So now DTM Deborah and DTM Dylan, you entertain some questions while I prepare the sheet so they can see this and then go for the next day.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Fabiola. Toastmaster Deborah.
Thank you. And just one correction to the scoring for this, sorry, not the scoring, the speaking format. And I placed it in the chat if you had an opportunity to see it. If not, I will read it again for you. Speaking format, proposition speaker, 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Opposition speaker, 5 minutes. Proposition second speaker, 5 minutes. Opposition second speaker, 5 minutes. We may have the audience interaction for about 5 minutes. And then we will have the summary of 3 minutes each, a total of 35 minutes. So our first question in the chat that I have here from Toastmaster Rhonda Lynch Watts: will the judges be scoring on any responses during the audience interaction?
Thank you. Thank you very much for that question, Toastmaster Rhonda. And certainly not. Because as a judge, we are only asked to judge what was presented by the presenters, debaters themselves. And so the interaction with the audience is just to have like a sort of a feedback on how the audience probably thought and give their little take on the debate, or how they would have thought it would have been argued, stuff like that. So you just involve them at that point in time. But beyond that, there's no scoring that goes towards that. Again, thank you for the question. Important.
Toastmaster Stacy Foster would like to know, will there be a chief judge and ballot counters?
As with all debating competitions, as with all competitions, of course, we all will get a supporting team. And of course, there will be one chief judge and there will be 2 supporting judges. So in all, the judging panel for each round of debate will be 3 judges. They will be supported by timers as well as ballot takers. And so it goes throughout the normal procedure with respect to Toastmasters. So yes, everyone will have a role to play in that regard. So we'll have counters, we have timers, and we have the judges. Thank you very much for the question.
Are there any other questions from anyone? You can show by raising your hand.
Judith Halberg, I have a question. How many judges do we have in the pool, and how will they be assigned to which debate?
Toastmaster Deborah.
Thank you, Toastmaster Judith. We will ask our judges to go in a breakout room shortly, as we do have our debate functionary group already. And if there are any others who are here that we do not have in our group, we would like to know who they are. So we will have a breakout room open shortly for that. Are there any other questions? Are there any
There's one. I think Toastmaster Stacy is assuming here that there will be a moderator, and yes, most definitely. Any other question? Was I that clear? Were you able to follow what is required as a judge? Are you all excited to becoming a judge? No reaction.
Yes, we are actually.
Thank you. You just saved
It was a very good
six persons here on
presentation.
this call.
A very good presentation.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Grace.
We have, do I still, does
Oh, this is a nice question. Yes. Toastmaster Daniel, this is a very good question. And yes, indeed, following all the rules of engagement with respect to debating, each judge will get an opportunity to give feedback, which should not last more than 2 minutes. So each of them will, after you sit down, after the judges sat together and decided on their discourse and their scoring, each of them will then identify probably what points that they would have seen and they want to talk about. And so they do that. Again, they're doing the feedback without giving away who the winners or which team will be advancing when you are giving your feedback. Leave that for until that aspect is given by either by the chief judge or the moderator. I don't know who announces the winner, Toastmaster Fabiola. The moderator through the chief judge or the chief judge?
it should be the chief judge.
You see, the thing is, it's different. It's different as you go across different debates. It's different. Sometimes the judge will give their remark. The chief judge may give their remark, and then in turn, they will then hand their marks to the moderator, who will then announce the winner. But in this case, I guess the chief judge gets the task of stating who gets to move on or who gets to advance to the other round. Any other question? I'm happy to see so many persons are excited about it. I am, trust me, I really am.
Okay, this is the result that we just had. I will need to connect with the representative to do the second round of the second day, because I need to prepare it and I don't want you to don't want to take too much more time from you. One thing that I just noted over what was said, the audience, when we are having the 5-minute audience interaction, the teams will be going into a breakout room to discuss together their last segment, and also the judges will be put into the breakout room, so they are not participating at the interaction at that moment, so they are not being influenced either. So the 5 minutes is for the groups to connect, and also for the audience to have their interaction. And yes, the results will be announced by the moderator after the chief judge has given their input.
Excellent. Oh, thank you for removing some pressure there from the chief judge.
Rhonda has a question.
I had 2 questions. I just wanted to confirm that the debating language will only be in English. I'm asking because I know we have Division D. So yes?
Yes, it will be only in the, English.
And my second question is, will the chief judge in the debating will be involved in the scoring as well, unlike the other normal Toastmasters contest? There will be 3 judges doing the scoring as opposed to the chief judge handling the judging aspect of it, but You know how in normal contests, the chief judge doesn't actually score.
Remember, this is not a normal contest.
I know. That's why I'm asking, because people are asking about the chief judge as though it's a chief judge in the normal contest. So that's why I'm asking.
Yes, the chief judge will be participating in the scoring. So you have the chief judge and 2 supporting judges. So you have the judging panel. And so for each judging panel, you'll have that chief judge and 2 supporting judges who will do their scores. I also saw a question about a tie-breaking judge. To be honest, I've never had a tie-breaking judge in a debate because of the fact that every team comes with a different level, and because of the fact that it's a very odd number, the chief judge in essence serves as the tie-breaking judge. So, but I've had that before though, to be honest. I've had a speaker vying for best speaker, but not for the teams vying for the same scores. It never occurred ever in my years of judging debates at national level.
And then there is the aspect also of the time.
Right.
That can play a role in if there is any tie that needs to be broken, you can always console that part.
Correct, as well as if there are any new points introduced in the rebuttal. So that's why there's the deduction columns. So at least it will help a lot. It will help a lot. That's why we are tasked as judges to ensure that we listen keenly to every single thing. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding, Toastmasters. It's not to scare you from being a judge, but it's very important that you take this job very seriously. As against any other debating competition where you get a lot of people on the stage, one after the other, presenting speeches, this is a case where you have 2 persons believing that their arguments are the best. And it's left to us to decide which one is really and truly the best. So we don't want anybody leaving with the bad taste in their tongues, as I would say. So we ensure that our integrity is intact and ensure that we judge the debate to the standard, the highest standard that is required as a Toastmaster. Yeah, I'm happy that we're reading our promise before we begin this competition.
Also, even though there are 3 speaking moments for each team, a team may choose to have 3 speakers, but that is in the part that the closing can be a different one than the captain.
So the supporting speaker can take up the role of doing the summary of the arguments or the rebuttal in this case.
Correct.
Right? Toastmaster Rhonda, I see the knitting of the brow. Communication is both verbal and non-verbal. What you need to ask?
Thank you for noticing that. I've got the impression you're always saying 2 things. Are you saying, DM Chair Fabiola, that there can be 2 supporting speakers for the captors? Are you saying 3 separate speakers? That's what I thought you were saying. No.
We're counting a speaker who was spoken before as the 3rd speaker, which is the 3rd opportunity. So remember, you get the captain who opens, and then you get the 2nd speaker, and then the captain comes again to do the summary. So what we're saying is that you don't necessarily need the captain to do the summary. The 2nd speaker could also do the summary.
You're not saying that a separate person could...
Correct, not a separate person. Not a separate person. Correct.
Okay. Is that so, DM Fabiola? Because you agree with what he's saying, DM Fabiola? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Exactly that.
But there be a 3rd person. I'm trying to understand what Toastmaster Perla is saying.
I'm sorry. What I was asking is if it's possible to have the the captain, then the supporting, and then can you have a third person for the rebuttal? That's what I want to know.
No, no. The teams are comprised of 2 speakers only, the captain and the supporting speaker. But there are 3 speaking opportunities for each team. And the third speaking opportunity is whereby either the captain or the second speaker comes to do the summary. Okay.
Thank you for making that clear. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Okay, I have prepared the drawing for the second day, which is the 6th of November, and the drawing will go as follow, because you do not want to have a same team go against the same team as the day before. So how we're going to do this now, there is only 5 of the 5 divisions that are going to choose now, and I will make sure that they do not get the same person to choose from. So only 5 of the divisions will choose now to ensure that they are not going to get the same team that they debated on for the first day. Okay. So I will need now for division the 5 divisions that are going to choose are Division A, Division B, Division D, H, and C. Okay, I'm going to spin now for Division B. Okay, for the second day, Division B is going to go against Division F. Okay, so now Division A, I'm going to spin for Division A. Okay, Division A is going then against Division K. Division D now. Division D is going against Division I. Now spinning for Division H. Is going against Division E, and Division C is going against Division I. So all this will be sent to the division and areas, so you know who is going against who.
Sorry, DM, Fabiola, C and J.
No, C against I.
I have D against I.
Yes.
D against I.
I'll repeat them.
Okay.
B, Division B, goes against Division F. A with K. D with I, you are correct, sorry. D with I, H with E, and C with J. You are correct. I couldn't read my own handwriting. All right, okay. Well, this is it. It has been a very, very productive and very informative. I have learned myself a lot. And I know all of you also. Chair Deborah would like to ask those that already are judges if they can stay for another 5 minutes, Debbie. And I am going to stop the